more importantly, we're going to be talking League of Legends. No, I'm kidding. We're going to talk Sheets. Sheets had a nice win this morning, which was cool. We'll get into all the football. But I joke with Sheets all the time that every time there's a giant sports day or something huge going on in the industry, Sheets always wins like the weird tournament, the strangest one that day.
Yes, yesterday I won the 333 in LAC for 2,100, and then overnight, and this was like literally impossible. But I got first, second, and third by myself in the League of Legends MME tournament. To get 3 unique lineups, first of all, is nearly impossible, and then to have them actually come in is like even next to impossible. And I say this as you know, that I'm like probably the least likely to like tout the site, like gratuitously. But I'm going to say, listen, I'm going to be very, very transparent and honest. Like the way I did it last night, people all over Twitter and in the Discord asked me how I did the build. Literally, I used the TrueDFS projections, plugged them into SaberSim, ran a contest sim, min uniques 3, and uploaded the lineups. I mean, like literally, that was it. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the SaberSim sims or whatever. I just know that it spit out some pretty freaking good unique lineups using that process. So that's all I can say. I have another thing I want to talk about before we talk about football today.
Yeah, great. We only have 2 games.
And it's sort of relevant. So Bobby and I were talking just for a couple of minutes about what happened yesterday in NBA DFS. For those of you that were not here, Joel Embiid got ruled out like somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes before lock, like somewhere in there. And to give you an idea of how close it was before lock, even after lock, he was 31% owned. Okay. Right. So it was very, very difficult to get him out. Okay. But people did. And there were some people that I saw tweeted, oh, thanks for this. I was able to swap out 5,000 lineups in like 2 minutes or something like that. And this is what I want to mention. I do these videos pretty much every day when I go over like my hockey process and even my basketball process. Forget the sport, doesn't even matter. And one of the reasons I do it is to give you guys just more, and myself, like more practice on the actual mechanics of doing stuff. Because so much of it, especially in the NBA, when you get news like this, you can't fumble over your technology. You know what I mean? You got to be ready to execute as fast as you can. Now, sometimes Bobby runs into issues with DraftKings, just like screwing him up with not letting him do stuff. But aside from that, the more practice you have with this type of thing, the more likely you are to be able to react when you have a situation like happened last night. The people that were able to get the 5,000 lineups out, I promise you, they've had a lot of experience and practice doing it. You know what I mean? So every day when I do even like my stupid builds at like 1 PM, which I'm never going to actually use at the end, that practice in and of itself is worthwhile, So I
think that's a really, really good point you're making. Like, I actually just think that's like, I don't know. I don't have a lot to add to it, but I really think it is a skill set. It's something that you get that most people who are good at probably don't even realize how they're good at it. You know what I mean? They just think, oh, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a big deal. I wasn't around yesterday for NBA as I don't play it on Saturdays.
That's good. Basically, everybody in the NBA gets 80 fantasy points now. Like, doesn't matter what your price is.
Right. Well, some get 110.
Right. And Luka just like casually gets like 83 on a back-to-back.
By the way, I watched every second of that game, and I'm just not going to deviate for a second. So I've been saying this forever. Somebody's going to score 100 points, and it's not going to be that crazy to do, because the way the NBA is trending, unless they make some changes. But like I said, if you took Kobe's game today, it would have been 110. I watched that game, and Luka forced nothing. When the double teams came, he got rid of everything.
Dude, that's what I was going to say myself. He did it like wearing a tuxedo. You know what I mean? Like, it's
and I'm like getting frustrated. I'm like, just be a little more aggressive. Like, come on, just take an extra dribble, split the double team. Like, come on, you don't need to just pass it up every time. And he did.
Well, but a guy like him again, and then he also just gets like all of those rebounds too. You know what I mean?
Like, it's great. I know.
Yeah.
It's the difference between he and the Booker stuff, which was also another crazy game.
Yep.
That was also completely naturally in the way they played that basketball.
I didn't watch that game.
I was going back and forth between the two. I had a double screen going. I was really into
it.
I had no fantasy hopes, but it was kind of nice just to be a fan for a day. Anyway,
so what do we got? We have 4 slates left. We have the classic slate, we have 2 showdowns, and we have the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm not degen enough to do like the halftime stuff. I know people do that. I'm not doing
We'll
any
see,
of that.
Sheets. We'll see with you is all I can say.
No, I can't do that. Dude, I got all kinds of sweats in the Super Bowl. I have my negative 50% ROI boxes that I have every year. That
Oh my God.
I run so hot in those. I mean, like
I run better in those than I've ever run in anything else.
Yep. I had all these charity ones that I'm in. It's like it's all the good karma. It always usually flies.
Yeah, kind of got in my head when I was young. Probably part of why I ended up doing this kind of stuff and playing poker was I started thinking I could actually make money doing things that literally had no skill involved. I was like, what, there's things that you could actually have skill involved?
like a tic-tac-toe tournament or something.
Like I was 12 years old deciding I wanted to figure out a way to beat the game. Anyway.
Yep.
All right, Erdy, how you doing, man?
Good. Just trying to sort through the slate, get some bets in, get some game action in all over the place. So trying to figure out what I want to go do,
Yeah, it's tough. And it's interesting because like you have so many options that are going to be the filler piece options. You know what I mean? And we know who the popular ones are going to be.
What do you mean by the filler piece options? What does that mean?
Jameson Williams, the Jameson Williams, Justin Watson, Rashad Bate, everybody in basically the 3K range, Aguilar, Josh Reynolds, he's 4K, but everybody in that price range. The way if you try to build over and over by hand, and maybe it's a different thing than when you're scripting, but like you just start realizing over and over again how the builds are very much leading you, whether you play McCaffrey or not, but especially if you play McCaffrey, that it's like going to be one cheap guy. A pretty good amount of double tight ends because of the 5K price tags. And you're going to end up with but you're going to end up on one of these cheaper guys, pretty much no matter how you build. I'm trying to avoid, just from a construction standpoint, like I'm trying to either have two of those guys or see if I can have none of them in some lineups, which is almost impossible unless you use like Noah Gray at tight end as like a double tight end stack. That's a way to get different. But I thought that, talking about process and trying to get different on these slates is important, because that is what builds are going to lead you to. And I bet you if you run a bunch of these things, you're going to end up with a lot of Reynolds, a lot of Williams, but maybe it's Rashad Bateman and Aguilar. You pair with Lamar in a weird way. You want to get really different if you want to have hopes to win a tournament on these two gamers, because there just aren't enough plays for you, not to try to see if you can get it. In my opinion, at least two guys in the sub 12, sub 15% range. Try to get three. That's just an overall thing that I was thinking for today's slates. I also posted my bets of the games. I will never make an actual bet against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. It's just never going to happen. I'm sorry, against Patrick Mahomes. But I do like Baltimore and I do like San Francisco, but also I have the 45-1 preseason bet riding on this. So
let's go.
No, that's the real one that I need to happen. Even though I will actively still root against San Francisco because I just don't like them, and I happen to really like this Lions team. But giving up the 45-1 chances, I still need Baltimore to win that game too. I can't just be them facing each other. So I need.
Let me ask this. So Rody, all right, we'll start with you. First of all, what are you playing today?
I got a bunch of stuff. All the showdowns, all the MME, 15 in the MME, the 333 Wildcat, the $100 single entries.
How many are playing in the 150? Are you playing them all 150?
150? No, I'm just doing 15.
15 of that. But you're playing more big buy and stuff.
Yeah, $100 ones of the 333.
Yeah.
There's not that many big buy-ins today. I'm not doing any the sweeps. I don't like the small sweeps. So
yeah, so I'm doing like the exact opposite. Like I'm just where we're all coming from here. So
I know what Cheats doing everything, right?
I'm playing 150 in the 150 in the 2 game slate and nothing else. As far as like the classic slate, I'm not playing any of the big buy-ins. So when we talk about who we're playing, what we like, I think it's important for everybody to have context. You're I imagine, Bob, you're more on what like Rody's doing. Similar type.
I have 333s.
Okay.
3 of the 150 that are whatever. All the 100 and 200s that pay over 10K. Gotcha. But there's only like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then like the 33 and the $27 single entry, all that stuff. And 25.
So I want to share a thought with you, both of you guys, to get your opinion on this. So again, I'm not, obviously not embarrassed or shy to say, to call out other content providers being really, really bad and really, really good, and one of the guys I've been referring to throughout the course of the year is Brian Jester. Okay. He's really just like super sharp in like a in kind of a different way than a lot of people are super sharp. Let's put it that way. He actually, I feel like you know who he is. He won like $1 million, I think, by himself in the Super Bowl when Kansas City won, actually, in the showdown. And he does a really good job of like coming up with you'd appreciate it, Bobby, because it's ways to get different that is not like completely like spreadsheet based and stuff like that. It's game script based. He's really, really sharp. And it's funny. I was watching his review of this. I can say because it's free, right? And he's like their whole place like addicted to just basically just Xing out Christian McCaffrey. I'm like slates like this. Listen, they're like I know it's terrible, but all I need to do is root against one guy, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else will just kind of work itself out.
Well, first of all, go ahead. No, I was going to say if I didn't have a very strong take, which this is actually a slate where you could make that kind of argument about there's so many interesting plays, like so you didn't all those guys or whatever and try to figure that out. If you decide just to fade McCaffrey and use an optimizer, there's a good chance you're going to at least have a chance to be competitive if things don't go the McCaffrey.
Right.
Just you're going to just end up with some competitive lines. Whether you're going to win or not, it's a tough thing to do in that many people. But it's a big step to giving you a chance.
Well, let me put it another way. So Bob, you have a take on the game, right? Also, but I'll ask both of you guys, like, because you guys are both playing more normal type tournaments as opposed to like 150 max lotteries, right?
Yeah.
What percent, like, and we'll get into the game if you want, but like, what percent McCaffrey are you two getting?
So I'll talk about that. Yeah, I was going to talk about the things, but I'm happy to talk about the exposure. Like the McCaffrey I've got for the. I actually even tried to fade him a couple times in this showdowns. I've got him at 50% right now. I have him in less buy-ins though, and it's really just a factor of look. If there's a time to fade him, it's kind of feels great, right? You have the best ranked rush defense in football. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's going to catch passes anyway, and he'll line up outside. He'll do everything. So it's not necessarily totally going to matter all that much, which is why I couldn't find anything. Because I also think Gibbs has a really tough matchup, and he's also got a split with Montgomery. I found myself going a little higher on Montgomery, but I end up with just all the Pacheco in the world. And I'm like, I lean more Justice Hill than I do Gus Edwards. But that's what we're talking about versus McCaffrey. I couldn't get it out of my mind that I'm deciding between all of these guys in this random splits, all this stuff. And I have the easy thing. I think you could play the go all in on McCaffrey. Right now, I'm sort of in between and trying to get different with the receivers. But I do think that it would be completely logical to try to fade him. He's in one of my 3 big buy-ins. So I actually, when I my over most thoughtful hand builds, he ended up making 1 out of 3.
What are you doing with him, Rody?
Yeah, I'm probably like 50-50 with him too, trying to fade him a little bit, but like he's probably going to be in my big buy-ins. He's probably going to be like that. I'll just fade him a little bit in MME. Hopefully I get lucky. I think I really like that Detroit San Fran game a little bit more today, so I'm going to be stacking that probably a little bit more. A little more heavy on that one.
I think that's what I was trying to avoid in some ways, like to get the spend ups there and use the value from like this is the week you want to take the shots on the random Chiefs guys, because like you just all the ownership's going to go to Williams and it won't be all of it, but like Williams and Reynolds will be combined in between in 70% of lineups or 65% of lineups.
Yep.
We got Watson. If you take a shot with MVS, I know it sounds gross. I know that Hardman may not even play because of the 2 fumbles last week, but the Chiefs, every time this happens, they end up just trying to go more to that guy the next game. That's all we've ever seen, including playoffs, by the way.
Yeah, like you were saying, we talked about this earlier in the week. Like Andy Reid could give an F what anybody thinks.
Absolutely, and he actually goes too predictably the opposite. Like remember that Kadarius Toney in the playoffs last year, the same thing happened. Yeah. And they didn't bench him. They went to him the first 4 plays of the next game. So it's just an interesting that's my way. That's the way that I think I'm using to get different. But I also wanted to throw out that with McCaffrey, why I'm able to fade him and why I'm trying to go a different way is I'm going to be way over the field on Debo, and I think that's just I actually think that the clearly better play is Ayuk for this. First of all, Debo's always better when all things are equal. But being banged up and having to face a defense that literally just gives up big plays down the field, which is more Ayuk's skill set. Even though Debo can do it, he just spends so much time in the backfield as a threat, as a dump down. But they're going to be able to get open looks to Ayuk downfield. The problem is I'm not willing to Ayuk's going to be 3 times the ownership of Debo, and Debo's just a better player. So I'm just going to play more Debo, and that's my way of. And also, I could talk myself into, if they do have rushing touchdowns, it could just as likely be Debo as McCaffrey. I'm serious. Like, they're going to use some plays with Debo out of the backfield.
I currently have 40% Debo.
Love it. I've got him also on my list to try and get more of. I've got about the same right now, but I wanted to get even higher.
Because what I did, again, you talk about process or whatever, I just so you guys know exactly what I did. So I did my projections. I put them into Sabre, so I put it up there. And then I did what I usually do in Showdown. I did just an ownership like fade rule where I had to like have a you know, and I don't want to have Geo meme works here, but you can look at my Showdown videos for how to do that. But so I like intentionally played like low owned lineups. And as a result, this is why I'm getting 40% Debo, for example. I'm also getting more Pacheco than McCaffrey. And then I'm getting a bunch of these other, like I said, these KC guys, like 30% Justin Watson. You know, just who knows? You know, what do you guys think of the I was about to say the Pistons. Why would I say Pistons? The Ravens running backs.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I mentioned I like Hill better than I like Edwards, but I think everyone else will as well. I actually think the ownership will be surprisingly low on Edwards. Like Hill's already projected to be 2.5 times the ownership. So I do think Edwards is a good way to get different. So I'm actually overweight. Somehow I'm overweight both of them at the moment. And I'm also overweight Montgomery. I don't really know how that's possible, but I am, I guess, according to what.
Yeah, that's really weird. Dalvin Cook's getting used a little bit too last game. So
just keep in mind what they're doing.
Yeah.
So Baltimore is very well known. Baltimore is my next team of, you know, I mean, I'm a Rams fan, but they're the team that I pay attention to the most. They love fresh legs, and but all of those carries Cooks had, other than one possession where he had 2 carries, they were basically all when the game was completely in hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just think that is a real worry. But at the same time, a Baltimore blowout is not off the table in this game.
Yeah, I'm not playing Cook today.
I'm not either, but in Showdown, I think I am going to play some of them. But I think that there's a good chance he doesn't get on the field at all. There's also a chance that they just want the fresh legs, and that's what they do. They love to do that. So when they consistently, you see 3 running backs with like 8 to 10 carries, but it's usually in games they control and they're up by a lot. Otherwise, it will mostly be the running game through Lamar, which, you know, we're talking a lot about running backs, but I think we should get to some other positions too. But my thinking is I'm not making a big splash at running back. I have more Pacheco than McCaffrey, like Sheets does. I'm below the field on Gibbs, even though I like Gibbs better than I like Montgomery. I just the price discount I was able to use more, you know, effectively. But I actually think maybe that's not totally right. That's partly why, though, I'm ahead on Hill and Edwards, and I'm gonna throw like a Clyde Edwards-Hilaire lineup into a lineup or two, but nothing special. How about you, Rody? Rest of your running backs, who are you higher and lower on, do you think?
Yeah, that's why I kind of like McCaffrey, just because he's going to get all the points. Like with 3 running backs in the Baltimore game, you know, it's kind of throwing me off a little bit. Edwards-Hilaire, I don't mind. He'll get a red zone look maybe. So yeah, Pacheco I do like. Gibbs I do really like. I think I like Gibbs a lot just because that price range is kind of harder to get in. I think people are dropping to Montgomery over any of them. I think he's a good pass catching back out of the backfield, and Gibbs really explosive player. I think he can be utilized like Aaron Jones, similar to Aaron Jones was get pass work and rushing work against the 49ers. But I mean, Aaron Jones just last week just ran down their throats. Yeah. But like, you know, this week's a little interesting. You know, I know you guys talk about like KC get blown out, but they brought the right referee in for the game. I know we don't.
They brought the right referee in. The NFL wants it. It scares the hell out of me. As a Ravens fan, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so as a Ravens fan, you should be scared with the Chiefs. With this ref they got coming in, you know, so there's a little bit of that. I know you guys were on Debo. To beat the Lions, they pass outside a little bit more, so Ayuk tends to get more of those balls. So like I kind of like Ayuk a little bit in that game because of that. But I mean, Debo's a good playmaker where they can change it up and do some rushes and some sweeps on the outside and stuff with him to kind of be able to spread out the lines a little bit more. So maybe that's utilized more. But I kind of like Ayuk in that game a little. I know we're talking running backs, but running backs are real challenging. I'm kind of just going with the main guys. I do like Justice Hill a little bit. I got him thrown in there quite a little bit. But like you said, maybe Edwards does end up a little bit lower, trending down with Hill's price tag, and we're just kind of just playing Hill. But I just like the top four. I just like the top four guys.
I'm afraid to ask because I don't want to get into a holy war here. But what's the comment about the referee?
I'm trying to find his stats here quick. He calls the most penalties against the home team, by the way above the league.
Yeah, I think Lamar has a bad record against him, and Mahomes is undefeated with him or something. It's whatever. Sheets, I know you hate that shit.
Yeah, I know you don't like that.
It's not even that I hate it. I'll direct you to a thread where they statistically completely debunk that entire thing because as Warren Sharp, who's basically an idiot. Okay, but we'll get into that another time.
So just in the last 3 years, other refs call 55%, almost 56% of the time.
Just
for the home team, he calls 40%. So it's like a 50. It's a huge change in what he calls.
I'll
direct
you to the thread that talks about all those statistics. But there was a huge thread that completely just dismantle that entire argument. But I'll get to it.
No, I'm not playing anything like that. I was just mentioning.
I'm just saying the statistics themselves are
I like the Ravens the whole time. I think they're the good bet. But man, you never can count out Mahomes. He can if these guys for KC can catch the ball, MVS, Watson, and stuff like that, you can't ever count him out. Man.
If he's gonna win, it's not gonna be because of the ref.
It's gonna be because of the greatest. It's gonna take a lot because this is a better team that they're playing. I don't think that I haven't heard any single analysts make an argument that the Chiefs and Ravens are close in terms of who's a better team. It's really just Mahomes.
But I mean, the Chiefs defense is much better than we talked. We talked last week on the show, Bobby. The one guy just gave up his first touchdown. The one corner gave up his first touchdown to Shakir last week.
Do you know what team absolutely dismantles every good defense? And because of Lamar, because he can do so many different things, it's Lamar.
Yeah, I know. I agree. He
dismantled every good defense they faced. This team has the most wins of any team in history by 3 more wins than any team in history of teams that have winning records. They beat the hell out of everybody because then they actually force Lamar to be Lamar. Otherwise, they'll just ground and pound all the time. You know what I mean? They'll use all those backs for 30 carries. When they need to and they're facing a good defense, I think Lamar is the best quarterback play, I guess is what I'm getting into. I think he's the best play regardless of who you pair him with. I do think that because the ownership will be lower on their receivers, I will find guys to pair him with in the cheap range. And I'll also play a little bit of Flowers and Andrews, but I'm not going to be way overweight necessarily any of those guys individually. Yeah. I just am going to have way overweight Lamar as my quarterback. He's I think I have him at 40%.
Yeah, let's talk about the quarterbacks then. So I presume you guys you're playing 25% of all 4. So who is for each of you your most owned quarterback and your least owned quarterback?
I'll go through mine really quick. Lamar is my highest at 40%, 28% Mahomes, 19% Purdy, and 13% Goff. And it's strictly because I think the upside is so much higher for Lamar. I think Mahomes is going to have to throw the ball more. And the fact that everyone, even though the ownership looks spread out between them all I've heard all week and everybody talk about that's, you got to get everybody from the San Francisco Detroit game. That's just going to lead you to using those quarterbacks. Whereas, it's Purdy and Goff are fine. Lamar and Mahomes each have a ceiling that's so much higher. I would just rather be overweight the ceiling in a championship game on the guys who are the better players by a long shot. And they're going to need everything out of Mahomes or Lamar to win. So those are clearly I have them in 70+% of my lineup. So those are my top 2. How about you, Rody and then Sheets?
Yeah, I mean, Goff's still looking to be a little bit lower owned. I like that and the passing option for him. I like his pass catchers. Lamar's next in line. Then Mahomes, I'm very low on Purdy today. I think the Lions can get to him. Maybe I'm biased because I live in Michigan. Everyone's been talking up the Lions, so I'm a little lower on the San Fran guys today. But also Devin Duvernay, however you say it. Duvernay is back. He's a 3K guy, but I do like a lot of Zay Flowers today, 5,800, to stack with Lamar. I know Andrews is playing today too, So he's got him back, right? Is he
I'm
good
not
to
sure
go?
Duvernay is going to get like there's a chance like maybe they run him out there on one like 4 or 5 wide receiver set maybe, but like Aguilar has been really good for them. OBJ has actually been good for them, and Bateman has been playing better and better and better every week. So I don't know how Duvernay is getting on the field really.
No, I don't either. I was just mentioning that he was back because my main guy is pretty much Zay Flowers, but then I'm sprinkling in the other 3 guys, like you said, Beckham, and I like Bateman a lot at 3,600, a little bit too. Sprinkle in just to get different because they're like 8% owned, 10% around some of those guys. So just sprinkling them in, so where you can.
So
maybe
it's
more of a showdown thing for the Duvernay is at 200. Maybe he gets 5 points, and that's enough you need for 200.
No, it's possible, but like I'm just saying, like it's so unlikely for him to get 5 points because like we have Power in chat talking about Chris Conley. Chris Conley may not actually be active. Like and even if he's active, there's a good chance he's never on the field if Debo stays in the game. He only played because Debo was out and they needed passing down situation work. There's a lot of ways that Chris Conley doesn't play a snap. I would go Ray McLeod if you're going to pick anybody, but it's a separate conversation, I guess.
Yeah, Ray. I mean, Conley's not even projected in the project. I don't even see any.
He's projected at 0, which is
exactly. So,
but wait, so Roddy, which order of your quarterbacks do you have the most and the least of?
Goff, Lamar, Mahomes, Purdy. I don't really have a percent though. I mean, Lamar could end up above Goff. They're both like right there. I'm just filling those lineups with those guys, really.
I like that. I mean, I think Goff look, Purdy's going to be the most popular, I think. So Goff and Lamar, I love that idea. How about you, Sheets? What are you getting to?
Yeah, for me, I actually have it close between Mahomes and Lamar, and then but I have very little Goff. So between what's his name, between Rody and me, hopefully someone's going to win. So. That's just I didn't. It's so funny. I had a different take. I thought that the Goff was going to be more popular.
There's Goff. First of all, there's everybody. They're narrative based. Goff on the road and outdoors. That's the whole thing.
That's true. That's true.
And it's San Francisco's defense. San Francisco's got the 30-point projection or whatever. Okay. How at the same price are people not playing Purdy? So they're all going to. I mean, it's just going to be like 2-1 Purdy. I think.
Okay. That makes sense then. Maybe I'll end up getting more of them if
but you know what's weird though is Goff and Mahomes probably have they have the right game script just based on the projected score. You know what I mean? Like, and those are going to be the 2 lowest owned, I believe. So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the Lions are going to try to run the ball too. That's the only other problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
I don't know how much success they'll have, but what the Lions love to do is exactly what San Francisco takes away. Everything looks so bad for the Lions on paper in this game. I'm just saying, like, I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope the Lions win. I'm just saying, I think that they love the middle of the field. San Francisco's the best in the middle of the field. Like, it's really tough.
Let me ask you this: in the showdown slate for the first game, who's your favorite captain? Both of you.
Mine really get weird, guys. I'm playing one big buy-in. In my big buy-in, my captain is. Let me grab it really quick. Sorry. Oh boy. Because I can get everybody else in pretty much. It's Rashad Bateman.
Oh wow.
Because all I'm looking for is a touchdown, and like if you can get to double-digit points somehow, that was what my thinking is. But I actually think that it's probably going to more likely end up being something else. But it may be a cheap guy. It very well may be. Most likely it's going to end up being like Hardman allows you to get everyone else in too, and you just don't necessarily need that much from him if you're going to do that. So that was my other thinking. Look, they're a little off the board. Obviously, the most logical is I actually think Mahomes along with Jackson are the most logical. And then if there was anybody else, I honestly don't even know because I feel like the ownership's too high for the rest of them. I guess Mark Andrews would be the next most interesting for me.
I still like Likely a little bit too, and I think he's going to get work more. I don't think they're just going to give up on Likely, just because Andrews is back. But I threw him in a couple of them.
Yeah, I like that, Rudy.
So he's probably going to be extremely low. So, MVS is there too for a bomb with us on the upside. Cheap. I don't mind.
Yeah, we need to talk about the receivers because I actually do have this is where you can consciously get like different the easiest today, and you're not really you're I still have the most of Jameson Williams, but like I said, I think mostly I ended up double stacking a couple of the cheap guys. But I'm pretty much overweight like almost everybody of relevance. I have 20% Bateman, 20% Watson, 20% Aguilar, 10% McLeod, 10% Beckham. I just really tried to force this in. 25% MVS. I really wanted to go extremely different and try to like play these low owned receivers. It's a 2-game slate. Just getting in the end zone might be good enough for the cheap receivers, and all Bateman, Watson, they'll be the ones with the ownership. But MVS, no, you're going to get no ownership. You're going to get no ownership. You're going to get low ownership on Hardman. Actually, he'll probably have a little bit. Ray McLeod will have 0. Richie James will have 0. I'm just throwing out guys like Nelson Aguilar is going to have way too little, in my opinion. Odell Beckham, because the price will have very little, 5%. These are all sub 10%ers. So if you can, I'm getting 20% of all the sub 10%ers. That's what I'm doing. And then in my big buy-ins, the ones I like the most are Jameson Williams and Watson, I feel like, and maybe Aguilar would be the next one. But that's what I'm doing, so I can play, 50% Amon-Ra. I have as much Amon-Ra, and I'm going to be with the field, I guess, but I have as much Amon-Ra. I'm below the field on Ayuk because I'm above the field on Debo, and I am below the field on Reynolds because I need to get different at one of the cheaper receiver spots, at least one. And that's my receiver outlook. How about you guys? Rody, you want to go? Then Sheets can close us out with the receiver.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm on. I liked him last week. I think he got 8 catches and just short as a prop. I think he explodes today. I think he's a good play. And then like you got the cheap guys that Bobby talked about. I don't really have to go too much in depth. Like Jameson Williams going to get low, and he was getting some work, but like Josh Reynolds is like one of my favorite through $300 more. I think he's getting a lot of work. I know Jawan Jennings is kind of priced up this week. They thought Debo might not play, so he's going to be kind of left on an island. I know he's not really good if Debo's in the game, but you never know if he gets a touchdown. No one will have that 4,600 price range. Beckham right there, 4,400 too is a nice play. Zay Flowers at 5,800 is way too cheap. I know he kind of busted out for everyone, but he's been really doing good before the last game, and I think his price is really good. Then Rice also bombed out. Literally all the number 1 guys last week bombed out for all the teams in the playoffs. So like I'm just kind of going back to those guys, thinking they're gonna hopefully have a good game. And I like Ayuk on the outside against the Lions. Lions like let the ball go on the outside a lot, so I like them. They're gonna have to throw to Ayuk, I think, this week. So to beat the line, if they want to beat the Lions, so I like him a little bit more. So it's kind of where I'm at.
You mentioned a couple of the low-owned guys, but are you really playing Jennings and Beckham? Because otherwise, it sounds like the guy I sort of avoided, I guess, the receivers that were like I know I mentioned at the end who I'd be above and beyond, whatever with, but they're all going to be like so high owned. Like Rice, Ayuk, and St. Brown are going to be so astronomically high owned. Do you find yourself needing to find a way to get different with your builds? Because it's a 2-gamer. We don't talk as much on 2-gamers. I'm just sort of interested in your thought process. I know you've done well on the short games and with the showdowns.
Yeah, it's just how I stack it. It just makes it different. No one plays 2 receivers from the same team.
No, this time they're all going to.
No one's going to play MVS and Rice together. No one's going to play Watson and Rice together. No one's going to do that kind of thing. I play a Beckham and Bateman together, like with no Lamar. Like I get weird like that.
That's cool. See, I like that kind of stuff.
I talk about the strategy, and it won last week. If you look at the Millie lineup, the 2+1 from the other teams, like I tell people a lot of times, like people aren't playing 2 receivers or 2 pairings from the other team and running at 1 back, from these 2-gamers. So I've done really well, even in, so I've done well in these 2-gamers lately. The last couple of weeks been really good for me in these smaller slates. So just really wonky with the builds is kind of what gets me different, because we're all going to be playing the same pool of guys, so just how I build and construct versus what optimizers are going to do makes me hand build better.
I like that. I like what you're saying. And I think that, it gets less true as you get closer, but because obviously a lot of people will double stack San Francisco and Detroit without quarterbacks, but I don't think anyone's doing it with Lamar. So maybe even if you want to play Flowers and Andrews without Lamar, that's an interesting, you're just already differentiating. So I think that was a really important thing for people who are like trying to figure out how to get different. Because that was my biggest question, because I like all the guys you were naming the chalky guys for a while, then you threw in a few off the board. And I like the way that you talked about how, the actual construction is what matters a lot in these small.
I'll tell you who I think is the best play. And based on everything that we all just said, about how people can construct or whatever. And I do think, unfortunately, Rody, that there's like just so many billions of entries and stuff like that, that most combinations are going to be covered. You know what I mean? I think that people are going to play 4 receiver sets, 3 receiver, 3x2, whatever it is. And I think that people are going to spread out among those cheapos and get combinations that you don't think people are going to get. I think we can go back to the other way of playing, in that instead of trying to like spread out the cheapos, try to find the quote unquote overpriced guy. And I really am into this Deebo Samuel play now. I mean, he's 7,300 for no reason, right? Like, how much more owned is Amon St. Brown going to be than Deebo Samuel? Mm-hmm. And like you said, Deebo Samuel, he could be hurt, and his pain tolerance might suck, and he might end up not being able to go that hard or whatever. But if he does, we forget like how big of a part of their offense he is. From receiving to running, and remember every end around that he runs, you're getting leverage against McCaffrey, like literally everyone. So I really like that. I assume we were still talking about receivers, I guess. So it kind of falls in there. But yeah, that's probably my favorite thing to do, I think. And I'm very happy with my 40% Deebo.
I love it, Sheets. I'm totally with you, man. I think that's all the other things we talk about, that taking a big stance on him. Like, look, you could make a very, very strong case that if he was fully healthy, there was no question marks or whatever, that he's he's a better receiver than Ayuk. It's and he's more important to their offense than Ayuk. I understand the matchup suits Ayuk, but if you're getting like 1/4, possibly 1/4 the ownership, it just makes too much sense to do it. I'm with you. I think I'm going to add some more Deebo even.
Any cheapos, like you guys mentioned, Ray McLeod, anything like Richie James or?
That's what I mentioned. Yeah, just I have 10% Richie James. And it makes no sense. I just want to be at 10% or higher, basically, on all these guys. The ones I like the best, I feel the most comfortable that Watson will get some looks. I feel like I'm stuck between Bateman and Aguilar, but I like both of them, and I also like Beckham. But I'm just going to be overweight all of them. The ones that are making it into my 333s right now, I've got a Aguilar, I've got a Jameson Williams in 2 of them, but he's going to be popular. I've got an MVS with Kelsey and Rice with Mahomes. Just trying to get a little bit different with some of these cheapos that people aren't going to play because of some narrative and some because a guy can't catch the ball. The Chiefs are going to keep going back to them. Look, they're going to make mistakes, but MVS had, he had 8 fantasy points last week. That guy's 3,400. If he happens to get those 8 and get in the end zone somehow with one of them, it ends up with 14. You're going to want that. So I just want to be overweight those guys. That's my strategy. What are you doing with the cheapos?
Yeah, the other one I was going to ask you about. Obviously, people are going to play a little bit of him in Showdown, but is it way too fancy to play in a use check in the 2-gamer?
No, in the 2-gamer, I think you're better. Sure, I guess you can get 7 out of that position. Sure.
Okay.
But you're really asking for a lot. I think I think if you're going to consider that, you should consider Dalvin Cook.
And a couple of other guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones. Does he have a chance to run routes? You commented on him when they picked him up. I think it's like they picked him up. They had to have picked him up for a reason, but they've never really used him. I don't know if the playoffs are the time to kind of roll him out there.
Yeah, I want to point out something because Power is going on something that you're. What I'm telling you, Pat, this whoever Power is in our Discord. This is you couldn't be looking at worse information than what you're looking at trying to figure out the Chris Conley thing. And I just want to say, week 18, the Niners didn't play their starters. Okay. So you don't get to count 70% of the snaps for Chris Conley. They didn't play their guys. There was a meaningless game to them, completely meaningless. Okay. Then week 20, you're missing Deebo Samuel, and they were missing Deebo Samuel. I guess it wasn't completely meaningless. They're missing Deebo Samuel for week 20. Deebo Samuel's playing this week. You can't use those stats and let that boost you. I'm just telling you, right now he's projected to play 0 snaps. Maybe he plays 2. Maybe he plays 3. I don't know.
All right, I got a question for you, Bobby.
Yeah.
Are you guys worried at all that Debo's not 100% could tweak something?
More than worried.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
why he's
also
going
think
to be low owned.
I think he's
Okay.
incredibly tough, and I think the Niners were cautious with him, and I think that he absolutely would have. I don't know. I think they underestimated his value. I do think that there are situations where that he has to play in any situation this week.
Yeah.
I just don't see them even as a decoy. That's not great for what we're asking for, but like,
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening unless he's really like it's impossible for him to play.
I'm seeing him at like 30%. Like it's not like super low.
Where are you seeing 30? Because I don't think that's going to be close.
I mean, let's
How can he be 30% owned?
That's what I'm seeing, but I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It would be so impossible to me to see how he.
And remember, he's a late swap guy, so be
cognizant. Goldie's got him at 18. Sabersim has him at 16, which is more updated than we'll see Goldie's before.
What did I put?
Yeah, I don't think mine's updated, but maybe it's come down a little.
Yeah, you've got him at 16.
Okay.
No, 14. I'm sorry. No, you actually, it doesn't have him. For some reason, it did have him. I have an old screenshot of where it does. And then, not a screenshot.
Yeah, see, he's not in a lot of people's projection systems. It doesn't look like he's ruled out for a while. Might be bringing the aggregate down, so I'd be a little careful on this.
Well, this is all the reason why he's going to be lower owned than what the projections have, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, look, I'm behind it. You're not trying to get the best plays. You're trying to get the best chance. And actually, he might be the best play. Like, we just don't know how healthy he is.
Yeah, I have Debo. I have Debo at 21%. What I most recently had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's coming up a little bit. But okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. What do you guys?
These two gamers are hard, guys. We're gonna all have a little bit different opinions on things, tweaks here and ownership here and there. So yeah, I'll probably add some Debo just because Bobby and Sheets have a lot of Debo, so I'll just be adding Debo. So
why not?
All right. So before we talk really quickly about tight ends, I wanted to address this King of Snacks question. Do we think Likely gets the majority of the work and think he'll be used as a blocker and Andrews gets the targets? I'm going to treat it like Andrews is able to play. I don't necessarily agree with that. I love the idea of getting some Likely and maybe more in Showdown for me, but I don't know if I can get to that they're just going to go with Likely over Andrews unless we hear something between now and game time that they say they're going to do that. I'm going to pretend that Andrews is a 5K version of Andrews, and which makes him the best play. So I'm overweight Andrews, even though I'm nervous about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did the Likely thing. That's another way you can get very different, is basically treat Likely like he's the tight end one, and Andrews is going to be like used as a decoy a few times or something. If you do that, you're going to be different because nobody's going to play Likely on the 2-gamer. And I have one or two in my cheaper buy-ins, but yeah. What are you guys doing with your tight ends overall? Sheets, what about, why don't you start this one off?
Yeah, that's another thing that I think you could do with the tight ends is that realize that the Baltimore tight end situation appears very tenuous, right? Because you don't know how healthy Andrews is going to be. And you could think that maybe Likely might get work or whatever, where the other tight end situations with Kittle and Kelsey and Laporta seem very, very clear. So I think both of those Baltimore tight ends are going to be lower owned than the others. And I think that Rhodey mentioned already that getting some Likely is probably pretty wise, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think they can both get in the game too. We've seen them double tight end, a lot of times, and Likely can flex out a little bit too. So, they can both play. Maybe Andrews. I think Andrews is good to go though. Like they're bringing him back ready to go. So, because I think he was practicing last week. He was just inactive, and they thought he might play last week. So I definitely think after another week he's good to go. So.
I'm still confused of this ownership on Ayuk. It's kind of, I'm sorry, on Debo is kind of the most important thing that I really think there's a chance that it's like sub 10%. So
you think it goes the other way from what we?
It is going the other way. Nobody.
I thought it was going up, but I mean, yeah.
I'm looking at the ownerships. I mean, what are you looking at? Because you can say the site.
Yeah, I have it up. Yeah, but you said you seen it somewhere at 21. We
I
have
don't
it
see
at
it anywhere. I've never
16.
seen it above 20.
I have a 21.
You have them at 21? Wow, maybe it is going up.
Yeah, so if we had a 16,
Oh.
our latest update was 16 on some of these aggregate, then he's got a 21. I think it's trending up, but I mean,
I guess you're right. I mean, no, maybe.
I don't I don't think it's updated fully either. I don't think people even have a full projection in there either. So
Right,
like
that's true.
the aggregate might be a little rough on that one.
And it's too easy to swap over, so it's not really going to make a difference. You know what I mean? Like most people are going to have multiple players. You could make a very easy swap from Reynolds and Ayuk to Debo and Williams if you wanted to. So yeah, he's going to end up with more owners. Shoot. That's frustrating. I hear you with the King of Smack, but part of the reason why I like the Andrews and even Lively to some extent is because it's the only tight end position you're going to be able to get different at. I think Laporta is the best natural play. I think Kittle will be treated as the best play. Probably worth noting, the Lions have exactly one active tight end for this game, which is bizarre in modern football, and I didn't know if it would ever happen, especially from a head coach of a guy who was a tight end. It's like, it doesn't really make sense to me why they didn't allow anybody else to either come up or get in there. I guess I don't know if Berkshire's ended up active, but anyway,
Berkshire's in, no.
As of when they made the announcement, I know it wasn't true, so it could have been changed since then. Do we have actually a projection on Ferkser? Because
I X'd him out, I think, so I don't know if I have one.
Yeah, he's got a 0.19 projection, so I guess that
he's in. I mean,
as of right now, we don't know what's going to happen in the thing. But that
so did they ever get Zach Ertz signed up? And
that was the question, right?
They announced he would not be playing.
Oh, okay.
They announced that yesterday. Playing? He's not playing.
Oh, okay.
As of yesterday. I mean, look, I guess they could change. I don't know what the rules are.
Why would they sign a guy that we can't put in the game?
Practice squad, because they don't have any tight ends because Brock Wright couldn't block, so they couldn't run their running schemes. And now they're going to use Laporta as the blocker for those guys. It's going to be weird because he's coming off of an injury too.
That seems a little odd.
Yeah. But I do anyway. So I like Laporta, Kittle. Obviously, I like all the guys, but I am trying to get. I like Kelsey, but I'm going to be overweight Andrews, Gray, and Likely. Likely is literally only going to be a few lineups of mine, but that's probably enough to get him overweight. It's like 8%. But Noah Gray, I'll have 20%. Andrews, I'm going to have around 20% right now, just to try to get a little bit different. Which again, I'm worried about the leg too, but I also want to, I want to try to get different on a 2-game slate. So I'm going to take some lower, some higher risk plays. Sheets, what do you got for the tight ends?
I just swapped to my other thing. I do have the majority of his Andrews right now.
Andrews?
Yeah. Andrews right, my highest number.
See, Andrews is a great tight end. So yeah.
Sheets, maybe we can both win today. It sounds like we're a little bit on the same page with a lot of this stuff.
Well, the thing is also, I don't know, and we're playing different stuff, so we can both win.
That's what I'm saying. It's nice.
I'll tell you what. You can win the spy if I can win the Million Maker. How about that?
How about we switch it?
I'm going to debate whether who wins what content.
Yeah, we're trying to allocate victories here. That's it.
You're going to go for
it's like allocating territories with the drug lords and stuff.
Well, you're not playing you can, because you're playing 150. You can win the million, but let me win the 333.
Yeah,
win Wildcat. Yeah, I mean, it's an $800K difference, Bobby. You're giving up though.
Well, look, I'd like to win the million. I'm just saying.
I know.
He's got 175 more chances.
So you can't win the million. You can't. I'm sorry, I can't give you that because that's the only one I'm playing. I can't give that.
I know.
He's only playing the million. You can only win the million.
Coming from a guy who was happy to get second when he could have had first of a million before.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
You see, but neither do I. The golf one is the one I actually was thinking of.
That was a disaster.
For me, that was the most brutal thing ever.
That was what's his name? The idiot Paul Casey. That's right.
No, but it was the worst. No, it was your guy Dustin Johnson. You start.
Holding out from like 140.
100, yeah, it was like 140, 150, and I'm like, give me a fucking break on 18 too. I was like, or 17 or 18. Anyway, it was very frustrating because that took me out of the tie for first, which I had totally unique lineup with all the time remaining, and then I got moved back. And Sheets got first, second, and I got fifth. Anyway, all right. Anything we want to? So I guess defense, and we'll just talk about it. The 49ers are probably my favorite defense, and they're going to be the lowest owned defense. So that's what I would do if I had the money. Mostly, I'm finding myself on the Lions, who will be the second lowest owned defense.
I'm on live video.
because they're 26. But if I had to pick, I would try to get to Ravens, Chiefs, Lions first. I'm sorry, Niners first. But because of the ownership, I'm getting to more Lions and Niners because people are not playing those as much.
Yeah, I have like a 70% San Francisco.
What happened in no 20? No, I'm just kidding. You couldn't go no 20 this week.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't go over 20 sheets.
Yeah, I got less than 20 of all 4 teams.
All right, Rody, defenses, and then take us out of here.
Man, you guys are really beating out the Lions today, man. I tell you what.
I tell you.
Man, I really hope the Lions can pull it out. But, man,
I do too.
I probably like the Ravens defense the best, but 3,200. But, I am playing some Lions defense. So Lions D and Chiefs D and Ravens are probably my favorites.
Yeah.
So.
It's pretty crazy to me just to say that even on a 4-game slate, that the most popular defense would be against Patrick Mahomes in an AFC championship game at the second highest price. Like
they are very chalky. Yeah.
100 more going against Jared Goff on the road, and they're going to be way lower owned. It's a little strange.
So I have my hot take of the day, by the way.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, you already nailed a bunch of them, but let's hear the final one.
So here's going to be my hot take of the day. My hot take of the day is that Lamar Jackson puts up a complete lemon and is awful in Kansas City wins.
Well, F you on your take of the day then.
Well, what can I tell you? That's my take of the day is that Lamar with his MVP in the back just puts up a total lemon. That's my take.
All right. I guess I'll do it. Do one, and then Rody gets two. I would say a slew of receivers. I actually was pretty close last week. I think mine was Kelsey having the highest scoring day of any player, and he ended up with 30. Lamar at 39. This week, I'm going to say that one of these stupid Chiefs receivers ends up winning beyond the winning lineup, and one of the stupid ones. The stupid ones are the low-owned ones. So I guess one of MVS, and I can't even count Hardman because he's not going to be low-owned. So it has to be at least one of MVS, James, and Watson. I'm going to go out on this stupid limb and saying MVS. All right, Rody. That's
good. As long as he catches the ball, he'll be fine.
Oh, but I know. We got a big question mark when you got a receiver who doesn't catch the ball.
Yeah, you got to have the receivers got to catch the ball.
Hey, if you watch Baltimore play enough, you'll see a lot of drops also. These guys drop a ton of passes. Go ahead. Rody.
Yeah, they're right. Well, shoot. I think I like the Lions winning today. I like them smashing the Niners. I like Zay Flowers having a big game today.
Smashing it. I love it.
So,
I hope you're right. I would love to see Niners smash.
What the hell?
All right. I guess I'm going to do one more game thing. I'm never going to do this again because I'll never bet against Mahomes. But the Chiefs are going to lose by at least 20 because I want to be counter to Sheets.
Sounds good to me.
Chiefs win by 20, is that?
No. Baltimore's going to win by at least 20.
Oh, Baltimore win by 20.
I have Kansas City winning like 13-10. How about that?
Oh, get out of here, Sheets.
Now that would help my Lions the whole time.
Guys, please hit the like before you get out of here, but I'll let Rody take us out now.
Yeah, guys, hit the like button, get in our Discord. Bobby's got all his exposures in there. He's got lineup builds in there. You don't want to miss out on that. We got a bunch of stuff in there. I dropped a betting group in there for DraftKings betting group that we can get in there and see some bets that we got going on.
Wait. Well, tell me a little more about that. What is that?
It's just where the DraftKings come out with this thing for betting groups where you can like get in the group and then you post your bets and then it shows up in there, kind of like a Facebook of bets or Twitter feed of bets. Like all your bets are in there and you can just click on them and then you can put the same bet in.
Oh, cool.
So they're just doing a cool stuff like that. But like, it's just me and my brother's little group that we got going on. So I just kind of started it recently. It's new though. So
before you take us out of here, I mean, I am going to be putting up, by the way, the NBA projections for the 6 p.m. slate. Closer to that, I'll have a little time probably as the first game winds down. That's all I have. You want to take us out of here?
Yeah, good luck today, guys, and enjoy the games. We'll be back next week for the Super Bowl action. And as always,
we won't. No, we won't.
2 weeks.
Oh, no, 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
My bad. Our next show will be 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
All right, see you guys. Have a good one. Let's get it.